Hello, everyone, and welcome to V for Life, talking about all things chefs. So we have amazing chefs from V for Life. So we have Ollie based in London, Claire in Scotland, and Alex in Manchester. Myself based in Birmingham. So welcome everybody, and we're going to answer some very interesting questions we had for our listeners. So let's start with our first question. Aimed to Claire. How do you address dietary restrictions or allergies when creating vegan menus?
I think it's really important to be quite creative with your menu. Nobody wants to be the forgotten diner, particularly if you're. I've seen a lot of chefs perhaps been a little bit lazy where they've just taken out the meat option. I was recently in Spain and it was chicken fajitas on the menu, so I asked for the vegan option. So I basically got the fajitas with no chicken, so there was no protein source there at all. So I also think as well it's moving beyond pastas and smoothies. It's really simple to go. We've got soups, we've got smoothies, we've got a tomato pasta. So thinking about what you like to eat as yourself as a chef, and the majority of dishes can be veganised quite simply. So it's just been a little bit creative, but particularly with allergens, there's lots of advice and training and support available from the Food Standards Agency. Moving on from the situation in Pret, there's actually new legislation that came into force, so it's really important that all chefs are available for training and they're up to date with their allergen awareness training, because a lot of people don't actually realise that a tiny amount of allergen can actually lead to cross-contamination and death, so it is actually a very serious issue, and it should be at the forefront of putting together any dietary restricted and allergen menus.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Claire. Ollie, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it can be really difficult if you've got a vegan who doesn't eat nuts, for example, or can't eat nuts, rather. But yeah, you can always substitute with seeds, different various seeds that they can eat, or even soft tofus. If, for example, if you're soaking cashew nuts to make a sauce, you can always use like a silken tofu or something. So there's always like a substitute out there that will suit somebody's dietary needs.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Alex, anything else?
Well, really, I think that's kind of covered most things, but I would just add that some products that you may think to be allergy-free or say gluten-free as an example aren't necessarily going to be, because it depends on how that they were packaged and processed in a factory. So you may think that, say, oats are gluten-free, but if they've been processed in a factory where gluten's been used, they may not be. So I would just say to be particularly careful with those sorts of things. But on our website, we do say what's in things, and we often do make suggestions of alternative ingredients that could be used to reduce the possible cross-contamination or an allergen in there. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I think it's very important also to treat people like individuals they are. So perhaps even if there is allergies, they might have likes and dislikes. So when you are creating a menu, you should consider everyone's needs. So by naming Mary and Tom and everybody, it comes to your mind straight away, other than, does anything come in my mind straight away? Perhaps nothing. Nah, forget about it. So naming that every single person in your head and making sure we know what they like and perhaps what they're allergic to, because nutrition is the best when it's consumed, not left on the plate. So remember that one. Okay, let's go to the next question. Can you share some tips for someone who's new to vegan cooking and wants to start incorporating more plant-based meals in the diet? Ollie, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy, really. Just try and stay away from the processed stuff. Although this can also be very useful if you're a big meat lover and you're transitioning to a more plant-based diet. Before they definitely have their place. I'm not a big fan myself, but yeah, definitely have a place if you're a big meat fan and you're moving over to a plant-based or vegan diet. Before you start to make your own mushroom burgers or shish kebabs or baked cauliflower or whatever. And also just, if you make a bolognese sauce, just use lentils instead of beef. It's that simple, just use all your other ingredients, but just replace it with a good plant-based protein, lentils or tofus, for example. Make a stir fry with all the veg you'd normally use, but use a tofu or cashew nuts for protein. So yeah, it's really, I think it's easier than you think. People get scared, but so start by using perhaps these vegan meat replacements, or just leave out the meat protein aspect of a meal and replace it with a plant-based protein.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, I think there's so much information, helpful information, not too much out there. So I would have a look on lots of different websites. Certainly ours. Have a look at that. But there's loads of YouTubers that do really simple demonstrations of how to make, as Ollie was saying, vegan burgers and vegan lasagna and all sorts of things. But yeah, making those simple swaps. If you're making, I don't know, a stew and you would normally use beef, you can use corn pieces in there instead if you like that. But, and as a chef, I might get ribbed in a minute, is that if you are going to swap, you might find it difficult to create every night something fresh. So if you create something sort of double quantity, and then you can bring it out the next time, or occasionally, there are so many ready meals out there, and that's the bit that I'm going to get ribbed about as a chef. But there are lots of things out there, and there's takeaways as well. So if you wanted to do it and you're sort of not sure, you can always have that from time.
Okay.
Relax and enjoy it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. Claire, anything to add?
Yeah, sure. I think Alex is selling himself short there. In our house, we absolutely love the publication that Alex worked on for VFL, the Veganising the Classics. So my parents are big meat eaters, and for health reasons, I'm trying to get my mum to reduce her meat consumption. So if you're looking at, I think maybe for people that are big meat eaters to go for a transition, perhaps start off with like a meat-free Monday. And again, that's good for workplaces to try to encourage people to be more plant-based, or even look at starting off as a 50-50 dish where you're maybe reducing the amount of meat in something and maybe like adding in lentils or things like plant-based mince, so that people are getting used to the taste. And then looking at other options, whether it can be something that is like health by stealth. So I've done it with my nieces and my mum, where I haven't told them that I've used plant-based mince, because I think it's like getting over the mindset. So I know that maybe some people want to become completely plant-based, and maybe their flatmates or their partner, their husband, their wife are maybe a little bit reluctant. So that's where a little bit of health by stealth comes in. And what I tend to do for my nieces on that health by stealth link is that I tend to grate and puree vegetables through sauces, so that they're getting more towards their 5 a day and they don't know. And then it's when they go, "Oh, I love that curry, Auntie Claire, what was in it?" And then that's when I tell them that was actually corn pieces, and there was grated carrot, and there was pureed peppers. But as I say, check out Alex's fantastic publication on Veganising the Classics. I think he's been rather modest there.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire.
Yeah, I think that's all amazing tips, and I think to add, take things slowly. I think it's very easy to sort of either use the meat replacements, and there's a lot of sort of sometimes upset stomachs because people not used to what's inside of them. If you just suddenly replace everything with meat replacements, then it's likely they will have a bit of upset stomach. But also, if you completely swap everything with beans, there will be upset stomach. So if you want to try soaking your beans, there are some tips how to avoid bloating after consuming beans. So something like adding bicarbonate of soda in your soaking water, and make sure you boil it properly. So just some tips and tricks how to go around just using everyday things. So let's go to our third question. What are some of the challenges you are encountered when working with vegan ingredients, and how you can overcome them? Alex.
Thank you. It is interesting the way it's phrased as vegan ingredients. It did make me smile when I read that question. It's sort of like, so we have meat ingredients and we have vegan ingredients. But anyhow, I don't know. When I was thinking about this, I mean, tofu is an ingredient that I just use, once a week, twice a week. I absolutely love the stuff. I remember the very, very first time I used it, I was sort of like unsure of it, and I was frying it and it was making all these sort of noises, and it looked as though it was going to be tasty, but it really, really wasn't. It was very, very bland. That was in those days. Obviously, I do different things now. But it just took a little bit of practice and a little bit of perseverance with it to create those nice textures, but also nice flavors. Breadfruit was an ingredient. I know it seems strange saying breadfruit is a vegan ingredient. Any non-animal product is a vegan ingredient. But anyway, breadfruit was one that I've used and really, really enjoyed working with it. But it does take a little bit of work. Similarly, jackfruit was one that I'm still not overly comfortable with. I know it's very, very popular as a pulled pork and sort of substitute, but I'm still not quite there with it. There's something about the texture or something about the back taste I'm not sort of overly comfortable with. So that's a bit of work that I've got to do. But I think it's just a little bit of perseverance on my part, and anyone that's trying new ingredients, just sort of stick with it and try it, and don't give up on it the first time. I meet a lot of chefs and that have tried tofu once and they never want to go back. It's like, go try it again. I mean, people have omelette. Obviously, it's not a vegan product, but they have it, and it's not that far in terms of consistency in some forms. It's something that people are familiar with. Just keep on trying it. Don't give up the first time. So that's what I'd say, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Claire.
Yeah, I think what I say for myself is echoing what Alex is saying, but so many chefs try to put on menus things and they label them as vegan pulled pork. It's like, why not just remove that expectation and say it's a barbecued jackfruit? And maybe if people don't know what jackfruit is, put out some samples and tasters for people to try. So it's a completely new flavour profile and taste that people might not be used to. Because I think for my own family, it was the textures of things that they weren't used to. So it's just getting used to trying new things and new flavours. And if that were eating meat, if you think of something like a chicken breast, it doesn't taste of anything, so you have to add sauces and spices and flavours. So likewise, that'll be the case with tofu. So making use of marinades and cooking methods, getting it really sure that it's dry before you start to prepare it so that you can get it nice and crispy. Some people love the texture if it's been frozen prior to cooking, and that can add a little bit of firmness. And then just making sure that you're using the right type of tofu for the dish that you're going to use. I know so many people have come to me and said, I tried to do the tofu stir fry recipe that you did. We loved it in your class, but we tried to make it ourselves and we made scrambled egg, and that's because we've used the silken tofu. So it's just being aware of what you're using. So I'd say that really removing the expectation for something that it's going to be exactly like meat. That I often say to my learners, Coca-Cola and Diet Coke. Diet Coke's a great alternative, but it doesn't really taste like Coca-Cola. You can tell the difference. So if somebody is giving you an alternative, it's have that in your mind that it's a good alternative product that's not going to taste exactly the same. And I do think it's absolutely ridiculous, like putting things on a menu saying that it's carrot bacon. It's like, why can you not just label it as like spicy, crispy carrot ribbons rather than, but I think that it's trying to get that balance between people that are already plant-based or people that are making the transition, or whether you're trying to convert people to become more plant-based that are what you would say, like my parents that are big meat eaters.
Yeah, thank you. Ollie, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, vegan cookery and baking has come a long way. So like personally, the challenges I've faced is trying to give rise to cakes. But I've, definitely overcome this by playing around with the ingredients out there, follow other people's experiments as well as my own. There's things like aquafaba, which you may have heard of, which is chickpea juice. And I definitely find if you whip that a little bit first, it adds air to it and adds rise to your bakes. And then, yeah, various different combinations of things like apple cider vinegar and baking powder will also give a magical chemical reaction and give lots of rise. And there's other things like flaxseed eggs and things like that. So yeah, that's a personal challenge that I've faced myself.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think everybody can relate to all these challenges. Like myself, I first thought about, ooh, it's tofu, because different brand will have different sort of tofu in there. But now, obviously, baking, that's one of those things. We have developed a vegan baking publication, which you can see with amazing pictures and even better recipes. So it's just something really worth having a look at. So let's go with our last question. Are there any upcoming vegan food trends or innovations that you are excited about? I will start first. I think food from microalgae, it will be something really big. Perhaps I hear that it's already starting to come on the market, but it's not as big yet. But it's another sustainable way of getting foods on our plates. So I'm just really looking forward to see what it's gonna be like and how available will be for everyone. So next, Claire.
Yeah, so linking on to that, I'd say that more plant-based seafood products are going to really really finding their way towards the supermarket and moving further into the mainstream restaurants as well. And I think that's because of like loads of documentaries that have been on regarding sustainability and scarcity of fish products, but also people's preference. There's a lot of consumers don't actually like fish, so they're quite interested to try the plant-based option. I'd say off the back of cooking competitions and the bake-off that yuzu is going to be really taking the forefront as a flavour in desserts and bakes. And one of my own personal favourites, I live in the West End of Glasgow, so we've got a very multicultural population here. I've got lots of ethnic grocers and small markets round about me, so I'm really lucky to be able to access these ingredients easily. So I really like ube. So if you're not familiar with ube, it's the cousin of the sweet potato, so it's a purple form, so it's quite nutty and really vibrant colour, gives a bit of a vanilla back note, so it can be used in cakes and bakes and savoury dishes as well. So I think flavours from Vietnamese and Filipino cooking's going to come forward as well. More chefs, particularly in competitions that are on the television, things like mint and coriander and lemongrass combined with noodles. So loads of people like a Thai curry and those kind of vibrant flavours. So I think the freshness of Vietnamese cooking, and that's really demonstrated in Glasgow that a couple of Vietnamese restaurants have actually opened up other sites that are specifically vegan only, and their menus are absolutely fantastic. So if you're ever in Glasgow, I would check out Dumbarton Road. There must be about 4 vegan restaurants there, so we're really lucky. So I think taking it from people's own kitchens out into mainstream restaurants as well, it's the landscape's looking really, really exciting at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Ollie?
Yeah, the potato you just mentioned there, Claire, I think I had some the other day. It's like a more sort of dense, purpley sweet potato. And I was eating it, I was just thinking this would be so good as a brownie or in a brownie. Yeah, and algae as well. I'm a big fan of seaweed. I do classes on seaweed. But yeah, I think algae as a sort of flavour enhancer will definitely be, it is being used a lot more. I've got like a vitamin D supplement, I think, and that's got algae in it, and that tastes really fishy. From Vivo Life, which will be at VegFest as well. Also, fermented foods continue to gain popularity, great for you, but also the amount of different flavors you can achieve with different ferments is, yeah, I mean, all different and all kind of personal or specific to the environment that you're in as well. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Alex?
Yeah, I don't know whether this would be considered to be a food trend, but I think that there's going to be a great awareness and move towards sustainable products. Now, I know vegan diets are very, very sustainable, but I think there's going to be a shift towards eating products that are grown in the UK more so, and eating more seasonal produce grown in the UK on the back of the sustainability arguments, but also as the cost of living is just still going up and up and up. I think there'll be a shift towards using cheaper ingredients. Now, how that's going to pan out in terms of whether it be spicy cheap ingredients or otherwise, I'm not sure, but I think there's definitely going to be a move towards eating with the seasons and sort of growing locally, but also, as I say, sort of cheap ingredients, kind of like going back to stuff that we might have had in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, you know, when there wasn't as much variety as we have today in supermarkets. So that's kind of what I sort of see coming along. But yeah, that's just a guess.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I think there's a lot of new things coming our way, and obviously closer to the time we'll find out what's new in the market, and obviously we will get our hands on it and show you how to prepare amazing dishes with it. So thank you all for your time today, and thank you for all your listening. Obviously, if you want to see more of us and cooking perhaps and talking about most important questions you may have, please check out our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to see more and press the bell button to see it first. But for today, thank you very much and have a lovely day. Bye.